Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Rogue Agent Answers. My name is the Rogue Agent. Some people call me David Lewis, and every week I answer one of the many life insurance related questions that I've received from clients, from email subscribers on the daily email list, questions floated to me from across the interwebs, in the comments sections, which I know you're not supposed to read, or just interactions that I've had with people in real life over the past 20 years, which is a long time. And some of these questions I just scribble down on scrap pieces of paper. Some of these are stuff I've written down on my phone. Some of it is on Post-it notes scattered all over the office. And every week I answer one of those questions. So if you'd like to ask your question, drop them in the comments section or join my email list for more life insurance tips and advice at monogenics.com. monegenics.com. Also, keep in mind that nothing in this podcast is or should be construed as financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. In fact, nothing that I say in this podcast should be construed even as insurance advice, as I don't give individual advice blanket just across the internet, unqualified, to random strangers. So if you need any of that stuff, contact a licensed professional that you know, like, and trust, preferably someone licensed in your jurisdiction. And now for this week's question. All right, can I get life insurance on my child or grandchild? So the answer is absolutely. There are normally limits on what you can buy, but yeah, you could do it. So for most insurance companies, you're going to be restricted to buying life insurance that is equal to or less than a certain percentage of the amount that you have on your own life. So, you know, as an example, I know there's the carriers will say something like 75%. It would be one that, you know, I've seen, and that's pretty common in that range. It might be 75, maybe 85 percent of the coverage on that's on the parents. So and I say this because grandparents will sometimes want to buy life insurance on their grandchildren, but the insurance company, you know, the grandparents might have lots of coverage on themselves, but the parents might not have hardly any, or they might not have any at all. And the issue becomes that the insurance company wants to look at how much is protecting the parents first, and then they're going to take a percentage of what's on the parents, not on the grandparents. So you have to keep that in mind when you're buying insurance. If you're a grandparent, you want to buy it on the grandkids, there's nothing wrong with that. So there's some carriers that are very, very friendly with that kind of arrangement. They understand what you're trying to do, and they're very open to it, and they will underwrite. They don't have any qualms at all, but what they want to see is they want to see coverage on the parents too. So in those cases, you just have to make sure that, and it doesn't have to be whole life coverage. It could be term coverage, right? The parents have to have something. And then, in the 75% example, it would be, you know, for every $1 million, you could get $750,000 on the children. So just as a reference point. Now, some carriers will do a multiple. They might do like 1.5 or 1.2 or something like that. So if you have $1 million, you could get, you know, 1.2 million or 1.5 or whatever on the children. So each insurance company is going to have slightly different rules. You know, they're all pretty similar, but you know, the exact multiples or percentages are going to change. So you know, that's generally how that works. And that's all there is to it. So you know, one thing to consider when you are buying life insurance on children is, you know, you want to make sure that if you're the policy owner, that you are also the beneficiary of the policy. You don't want to run into a Goodman Triangle issue, and you can check some of the other podcast questions I've done on that, but or emails that I've done on that. So you want to make sure that you've got just two people on the contract, essentially you and whoever the insured is, and you're not creating a gift tax situation later. The other issue is, you know, buying enough life insurance that it makes sense for the child, but not so much that it's going to cap them out early when they want to buy more life insurance as an adult. So it's like life insurance on a child is really, really inexpensive. And so it doesn't take a lot of premium to buy up a whole bunch of life insurance. You also have to kind of be careful about how much you're buying. And, but you could buy a lot and you could get, a fair amount of life insurance on a child and pay a decent amount of premium. And, 20 years is a long time, but for a child, if you buy life insurance on a 1-year-old, 20 years means they're 20 years old. They're just beginning their life, really. I mean, they're just starting out in life, in the quote unquote real world. So that's a great way to get them started. And by that time, they have savings, they have insurance. If they want to start a family, they're all ready to go. And after 20 years of premium payments, if the policy is designed well and it's funded well, heavily funded, then after 20 years of premium payments, now again, it doesn't seem like it's that long because the kid's only going to be 20 years old. But by the time the kid is 20, the policy could be paid in full, or it could be or it could have enough premium in it that the policy dividends and accumulated paid up additions are sufficient to make the base premiums on it. So the child might not even have to pay premiums on the thing ever. So you buy them when it's young, and the premium, again, because the premiums are so low, that you could spend a few $1,000s and get like $1 million worth of coverage on a child, and it's going to be very, very inexpensive, even at term rates, right? The child would never get that kind of rate when they're more an adult. They'd never be able to get term insurance for that cheap, and it wouldn't be permanent coverage. So if you can do it, and you can afford it, and you've got yourself covered, life insurance on a child can make a lot of sense. Anyway, I hope that helps, and I will see you in the next one.
Okay, that's it for this week's question. If you'd like to add your question to the list, just drop them in the comment section or send me an email. And if you want more life insurance tips and advice, just head on over to monogenics.com, MONEGENIX.com, and sign up for my daily email list.